Hi, good morning, everyone. Uh, Today we are going to start the first lesson of the Business Environment English Medium Level 1 AATeNglish class. This is very important subject. This is very important subject for you to understand the business context in when you do the exam. Today we are going to discuss this first lesson about this uh, subject, which is business and which is business concepts and different types of business organization. Here, first of all, we are just going to see the definitions of an organization. What is an organization? How we define the organization. There are plenty of definitions you can find about organizations, but you can't say an exact definition because different people define the word organization in different aspects. W. Richard Scott has defined an organization is a collection of people working together to achieve a common purpose. Here you can see when he defined it, there are specific things he has mentioned. One is collection of people working together to achieve a common purpose. Those are the three elements when W. Richard Scott defined the organization has focused more. Stephen P. Robbins, another a person who has given a definition to an organization. Organization Organization is a group of people systematically arranged working to accomplish some specific purpose. Here also you can see there are specific areas that Stefan has highlighted. Group of people systematically arranged and working to accomplish some specific goal. So as I discussed earlier, there are some common factors in the above definitions. One is common goal, purpose. You can see from both the definitions, you can see a common goal or purpose is highlighted in their definitions. The other thing is group of people. That means if you want to develop an organization, you should have minimum two people. And it says structure. There should be a proper structure to work in the organization. Those are the three elements. Those are the three common elements. We need when we define the word organization. In the exam, sometimes they might ask you to define an organization. How you define organization? There are uh, there are uh, those are the three factors that you should have when you define organization. But you have to make sure if you use someone's definition, it should be exactly the same as the person who has defined it. You can't change someone's definition and you can't write it your own words. So, for example, in the exam, if you want to write W. Richard Scott's definition, it should be precise. An organization is a collection of people working together to achieve a common purpose. Or else, if you use Stefan B. Robin's definition, it should be exactly the same as with the way he has defined it. But you can you can keep in your mind that there should be three common factors, that is common goal, group of people, and structure. And after that simply because of after that you can develop your own definition and write it in the exam paper. And the other most important thing is, why do we want organizations? Why do we really want organizations? The best answer for that is, one person can't do everything, and people have different skill set, people have different abilities. So if I want to do something big, probably I may not be able to do what I want with the level I with the capacity I have. So likewise, that is the main purpose of having organizations. People can't do things, bigger things from their own. There are some other reasons for having organizations. The other reason is to produce things to satisfy very complex human needs and wants. For example, when you think about the creating organizations just to satisfy our needs and wants, we will discuss needs and wants in detail in this chapter later. But by creating organizations, what we can do is we can produce things to satisfy human needs. And if we have organization, we can do innovations and we can develop and distribute. For example, if I'm the one who is doing everything, I may not have enough time to think about innovations to develop and distribute. So that is why we need group of people to do these things. And other most important thing is to get the maximum benefit from the limited resources. For example, if I take myself, I have limited skill set, I have limited capacity. If I want to do something, if I don't know or which I don't have the capacity, I have to invest lot of time to develop that. And because of that I waste lot of time, and time also limited resource. So likewise, if I can get together some of the people who have different skill sets, then it will be easy for me to use that limited resources to give the maximum benefit. And other most important thing, advantage from synergies. What we call synergies. Synergies means sometimes most people, especially strategies, they have found when we work as teams, our productivity is much higher than when we work individually. So in synergies, what we say, 1 plus 1 is equal to 3, not 2. So that means when we work as a team, our productivity is very high. So that if we create some organizations, if we organize properly, we can deliver much better things, is not like as we contribute individually. So those are the reasons that you can achieve by having organizations. There are two types of organizations. One is formal organization, other one is informal organization. What is formal organization? We'll just see a definition. If a set of people gathered in a predetermined structure, that is called formal organization. If a set of people gathered in a predetermined structure, that is called formal organization. What do we mean by predetermined structure? For example, just think about a private company. It has directors, it has CEO, it has general managers, it has senior managers. There's a proper structure, and there is a group of people who are working to achieve one goal or a predefined goals set of goals. That is the definition of formal organization. If a set of people gathered in a predetermined structure to achieve a set of goals, that we call a formal organization. For example, the best example is private companies, or you can use any government companies as well, because those companies has a proper structure. There is a proper way of working. So that is how we define a formal organization. What is informal organization? Informal organization means if a set of people gathered without a proper structure to achieve a set of purposes or set of goals, we call it an informal organization. These organizations create to achieve day-to-day activities. That means those most of the time, those are very short-term organizations. Sometimes in our villages, in our cities, sometimes we create small groups to do some small things. For example, if some of our friends want to go for a trip, what we can do is we create a small WhatsApp group and add people and discuss small things, and we plan our trip. That is called informal organization. That means we organize ourselves without a formal structure. There is no formal structure, no formality. Everyone contributes, everyone suggests things, and that is happening very informal way, since we are friends and we have a common purpose, that is to organize a trip and go for a trip. That is called informal organizations, and you may have lot of Facebook groups to achieve some certain things. So that is how we define informal and formal organizations. And sometimes it's always better in the exam when you ask to write a definition, always try to give some examples. Then your answer might be very clear to the examiner. Sometimes when you write the exam, what we write in the exam is what is in our mind. Sometimes by looking at our answer, we may have correct, we may think that we have given the correct answer for the particular question. But the person who is reading is an outsider. He may not have any idea about what we have thought when at the point of writing the answer. So at that time, sometimes if he couldn't understand what we have said, then by looking at some examples, he may get some idea what you have meant by your definition. So likewise, if you get any question like this, defined informal organizations, write a definition and put some examples. And I always try to discuss some of these examples when I define things, then it will be easier for you to understand and memorize the definition, and always remember in the exam also. That will be a huge plus point for you to get more marks. So always please remember, when you write things, always put some examples which will add a credibility to your answer. So that is how we define informal and formal organizations. After that, we will see about a business and its characteristics. What is a business and what are the characteristics of a business. Here also there are a lot of definitions which are given by experts in academia and sometimes businessmen. They have given a different definitions based on different dimensions. CL Bow uh, gave a definition called a business is any profit-seeking activity that provides goods and services designed to satisfy customer needs. That is how J.B. Bow defined the business. When I read this definition, a business is any profit seeking activity that provides goods and services designed to satisfy human needs. So, there are very important elements in this definition. Profit seeking activity, provide goods and services, satisfy customer needs. Those are the three elements that I see is very important when you define a business. So by considering this definition, we can say that business is a series of activities which contribute to satisfy human needs and wants while focusing on profitability. So here CL Bow, when he defines, he has said the purpose of this is series of activities. You should have series of activities and which are designed to satisfy human needs while focusing on profitability. Sometimes you may can argue that there are businesses which are not much into profitability, so not for profit businesses. So there is an argument, but this is a common definition you can define business. But yes, there are, I would say, rather than saying not for profit business, I would say not for profit organizations. They are not seeking profitability, they just do things for the society, to well-being of the society. So that is how, if you ask to define this, what is business? The business is any profit-seeking activity that provides goods and services designed to satisfy customer needs and wants. We will discuss in great extent about customer needs and wants, which is a very important part of this subject and this chapter. But just to get some idea, a business is any profit-seeking activity. So I hope you got some idea about a business. So even in this kind of question also, you can give uh, your own definition when the examiner asks about a business, but make sure the important elements should be there in your answer. As I mentioned in the previous definitions as well, the important elements should be there when you define or when you share or when you write your answer about definitions. So I said there are businesses, rather than saying businesses, I would say organizations which are not expecting profits. We call those not profit organizations. The purpose of those organizations to contribute to the well-being of the society. How these organizations find money to operate? Because sometimes you may think in a business we earn profits and we reinvest that profit to operate the business. So we use those cash flows to operate the business. But organizations which do not seek profits, how do they operate? So where do they can find money? There are a few ways that they can find money. First one is membership fees. For example, just think about sports organizations. What they do is they create a small organization. I use word organization rather than business. And what they do, we collect membership fee, and from that, the fee is pooled, and they use that money for the well-being of the members of the society or the organization. And foreign grants, for example, Red Cross Society is a not-for-profit organization. They are doing so much of things for the society, but they have foreign grants. And for the example is government grants. So they have government contributes those organizations to run the activities, because the main purpose of those organizations is the well-being of the society. So government as responsible for the well-being of the society. So what they do is they give grants to the organization, and that organization provide the basics infrastructure for people to live. So that is how it operates. And after that, we are going to move to discuss about the evolution of business, how the business has evolved from past to today. So that also very important to understand how these businesses, how these things have evolved throughout. Then we can give a basic idea about how things has developed. What are the things? In the past, we say we had self-sufficient. That means individuals produce what they want by themselves to satisfy their needs and wants. The in the very past, what we had, I produce what I want. That's called self-sufficient. And when you think about economy, we said self-sufficient economy. That means within the country or within the economy, people produce what they want to survive, what they want to live. That is called self-sufficient economy within the economical boundaries. But for individuals also, we say self-sufficient. So that means I produce whatever the things that I want. For example, if I want vegetables to eat, I grow vegetables and I harvest and I consume it. So that is called self-sufficient. But there are a lot of challenges of being self-sufficient. For example, there are a lot of challenges over there to be a self-sufficient. The one is limited access to the resources. For example, if we think about a small community of myself, do I have the access for the resources to use to produce things I want? Probably may not, because I am an individual. So limited resources, the access, I don't have much access to the resources since I am an individual, and because of that, I may I may have I couldn't achieve, I couldn't satisfy myself because I don't have resources. And limited skills level. So I have limited skills. So my skill set does it enough for me to survive? Of course, no. Because if you think about the way we live today, can we do everything to get what we want today? Of course, no. Another thing is limited storage. For example, if I say I grow food, let's say vegetables, I grow vegetables. So in those era, we didn't have refrigerators and those of stuff, so we can't store lot of things within ourselves. So those are the challenges that we had when we think about self-sufficient economy. Or so after that, the people move to barter system. So in the barter system, what we call is we exchange things what we have. So let's say I'm a farmer. I have rice. I have my neighbor. He also a farmer. He has vegetables. So what I can do is I grow rice and I give rice to my neighbor, and I ask vegetables from him. That means we exchange things to satisfy our needs and wants. That is called barter system. There are a lot of challenges in the barter system as well. There are a lot of challenges in the barter system, and we are now going to move to to discuss the challenges that we had in the barter system. One, the most common challenge is lack of double coincidence of words. Lack of double coincidence of words. What does it mean? For example, I have excess of rice, and I know my neighbor has excess of vegetables. I want vegetables. So what I can do is I can ask my neighbor, I can give you rice. Can you please give me some vegetables? What if he said, no, I don't want rice? So that means I have a need for vegetables, but my neighbor doesn't have any need or want for rice. So then, how this barter system can work? Of course, it can't work because I have excess, but the person who has vegetables doesn't want to get rice from me. So that is what we said, lack of double coincidence of wants. If there should be a double coincidence of wants. If not, there will be a big trouble. And the other problem is lack of common measure of value. How we measure the value. Let's say I have rice of 1 kilo. If I give that to my neighbor, how much I can ask from him? There is no common measure of value because when we talk about other system, the use of money had not been started. So we with in the barter system they exchange commodities, not money. So lack of common measure of value. So that means there is a no proper way to measure the value of rice and vegetables. So based on their own judgment, they decide how much he can give, and there will be. I think there would have been a lot of arguments, agreements, and things when they exchange things. And other most difficult thing is difficult in storing wealth. Storage has become a big problem. For example, let's say I have rice. I because I have harvested, I have huge storage store of rice. So how long can I keep this rice with me? Because there is no proper thing to keep my wealth, because the wealth I have is my rice because there is no such money. My wealth is my rice, my harvest. So difficult to store. How can I store? And how long can I keep that? Those are perishable goods, right? For example, wealth, meat. You can consider those are perishable goods. So you can't store that. So let's say today I harvest some of the vegetables. I can keep those maximum 3 days, maximum. But after that, problem. And indivisibility of goods. Indivisibility of goods. What is meant by indivisibility of goods? This is applicable for big things. For example, just think about a person who is producing equipment like knives and everything. How you can divisible of goods. For example, I have excess of 1 kilo of rice and I need a knife. I need a knife, but I have 1 kilo of rice excess. So when I go to that meet that person and I offer that I have 1 kilo of rice, I need a knife. That person says, no, you have to give 5 kilos of rice or rice to get a knife. So can that person uh, divide into 5 pieces and give one? No. Indivisibility of goods. There are some goods you can't divide into parts because since based on the availability and the value, so you can't divide those goods, and this has become one of the problem in barter system. So those are the most problems which could have seen in the barter system. So because of that, to overcome these problems, people started to use money. That means a common accepted a commonly used and accepted thing instead of exchanging a different items. So that is how the money concept come into play. So that is how our businesses has evolved to that extent. So I hope you got these ideas and about this, and I hope you got some idea about how this businesses has evolved from self-sufficient barter system and using money. After that, we are going to see the characteristics of business. What are the characteristics of business? The first and foremost important part is economical activity. Economical activity, a business is an economical activity. That means when you do the business, we do the production, we do the distribution, and we exchange the resources, we pay amounts, pay money to buy resources, and we sell to the customers and get money from them and earn profits. Those are economical. So business is an economical activity because there are a lot of like production, distribution, like activities are happening within a business, and we call those are economical activities. And other thing is uh, buying and selling or exchange activity take place whenever we do the business. Always buying or selling or exchange activity should take place. For example, when we do a business, there should be a party to buy the things, and there should be a party to sell, or else they exchange things in a business. So that is another most important fact, that buying and selling of exchange activity takes place in a business. And the third factor is continuous process. What does it mean by continuous process? Continuous process means in the business, when we start a business, it always we think that it has a continuation. It continues. So that is what we say it is continuous process, because when you think about a business, that means there are a lot of processes. For example, let's say if I am in a business of production, what I do is I purchase raw materials and do the production and sell to the customers. And after that, this process continues, right? That is what is meant by continuous process. And the fourth factor is motivate by profits. So that means when you do the business, profit is your ultimate motive. I can't say it is ultimate, but as human beings, we are motivated by profits. So that is one of the characteristics of business. Another most important characteristics is in the business there is risk and uncertainty. In the business world, what we say that when you do a business, there is always a risk and uncertainty. The people who have taken that risk and uncertainty have achieved a greater success in their career. So business also has a risk and uncertainty, but there are ways that you can minimize your risk and uncertainty, right? So there are ways which you can minimize your risk and uncertainties, and what we are discussing here are common factors. Sometimes there could be special cases where there is no risk and no uncertainty, but business exists. Yes, of course, but those are common and characteristics of business. And in the business, what we do is creating wants or creativity. What we do in the business is we create wants. So we will discuss the definitions of uh, the definition of needs and wants in the latter part of this subject. And in the business, what a businessman should think is to innovate and create wants, and that will give a definite advantage for that person to achieve the success in the business. Now let's move to discuss about the definition of needs and wants. What are the needs? What are the wants? It is very important to understand the definition and the concept of needs and wants in this particular subject, and it will be helpful for you in other subject as well. What is a need? Needs are the things you need to survive. These are the basic things that you need to survive. For example, food, shelter, clothes. So those you need to survive. That we call as needs. What are the wants? Wants can be defined as having a strong desire for something. The ways of satisfying needs also can be defined as wants. For example, we'll say that needs. Food is a need, but a burger is a want. That means the way you satisfy your need is called as wants. For example, let's say food is common. You can have different types of foods to satisfy yourself. Those are called wants. And we will discuss the differences about needs and wants in greater detail in the next next few slides. But the understanding is needs are common, but wants are personalized. For example, food is common. Every one of us need foods, but if, but we may have different preferences. Some people like vegetarian, some people like chicken, some people like different flavors. Those are wants. And clothes also same. Clothes altogether we need clothes, but the appetite or the uh, what you want may differ from person to person, depend on your fashion, your style, and everything. Those could be changed. So that is how we uh, describe needs and wants. After that, we are going to discuss about the comparison of needs and wants. I have done some comparison in between when I describe needs and wants, but here I will go a little bit deeper to analyze things. Needs and wants. It is essential to live. Needs. Needs are essential to live. For example, actual food, shelter, clothes. Those are essential to live. Wants. It is not essential to live. For example, I have a want to buy A burger. Do I need a burger uh, to live? No. If I can't find burger, I can have some another food to satisfy my basic need, which is hunger. If I'm hungry, I have a need foods, but the way I satisfy my need is called wants. That is burger, sandwich, or whatever the thing. But you see, it is not essential to live. What I want the burger, that is not essential to live. Other differentiation is needs are limited, but wants are unlimited. For example, if you think about food, food is actually one need food, but there are plenty of things coming under food as wants. Burger, sandwich, string hoppers, whatever the thing, everything coming under wants. So that means wants are unlimited. And another differentiation it needs are constant, but wants change with the time. Needs are unlimited, wants are change in the time. For example, let's say need a communication. Need is a communication, so we need to communicate with our friends, colleagues, and people who are around us. But how we communicate is the way we communicate called wants. For example, even in the past, people use different methods to communicate, but somehow they have communicated. But today, the way we communicate or what are the things that we use to communicate are completely different things that people used in the past. But the need will be constant, it will be constant, but now we use iPhones, laptops, or WhatsApp, or anything. People past they use some birds to communicate or send messages or like wise, but now things has changed time to time. So those that is considered as one another differentiation between needs and wants. And needs are common for everyone, but wants, as I said, change person to person. And needs we need to survive, but wants help us to upgrade our lifestyle. For example, I need a I have a need to go to some place. I have a need to go to some place. Few years back, I used public transport, but now I actually want my own vehicle to go to the same place. That means I have a need to go one place to another, but the way I satisfied my need was different. That means I have upgraded myself, upgraded my lifestyle to next step by using my personal vehicle. So that is how we differentiate needs and wants. So that is how we can discuss about needs and wants. I hope by doing that much of examples, you can understand the differentiation of needs and wants. I always remember when in the exam, if you ask to give the definitions, give some examples after your definition. That will add a credibility to your answer and which definitely help you to get some marks, additional some marks for the exam. So next we will see based on what wants change to person. We explained that wants are personalized that can be changed time to time. So what are the reasons? What are the facts? What could be reasons to change that wants person to person? First is gender preference. Sometimes there are some things that, for example, gender preference and age also play a major role in this. uh, uh, when we think about wants. And other factor is income level. For example, based on income, for example, I said if I want to travel, traveling is my it's need, but I can decide what I want based on my income, either to use public transport or either to use my personal vehicle. And culture, for example, the, the food. Some people, for example, the Hindus, they don't eat much of meat. They are vegetarian, so they have a need of the foods. But what they want is influenced by their culture to have a vegetarian things. And education level, based on education level, sometimes person to person needs and needs will be constant, but wants will be different. So I hope you all got some good idea about this, and I think you enjoyed today's session. And I always encourage you all to, when you write your answers, always try to use practical sense, because that anyone can just just by heart the things theories and write the exam and pass, but that should not be the purpose. Sometimes I think all of you do these AATEng exams to achieve your professional career. So in the professional career, sometimes what you have learned may not be effective if you can't use it in practical way. So always try to put some practical sense to your answers, then you can easily pass this exam. So from here I stop from here. So and I just really like to remind you about Tutor.lk. So Tutor.lk is online platform which provides Tutor.lk has provided a great platform for students not to postpone their exams and do the exams without any problem. So this has created a great platform with very good tutors, and they always willing to give their support to the student at any time. So you can contact the tutor or your lecturer at any given point through the portal, and you may have a lot of benefits. You can watch the videos over and over again, and you can get some multiple questions to see where you are in the exam and the subject. So I really encourage you all to join with Tutor.lk and to never postpone your qualifications, because even though countries in a situation, days go by, right? So your age, your things are actually they're moving. So never postpone things because of the current situation. Just focus on what you need to achieve in your life and take necessary actions immediately. And here you have a lot of benefits, and as I said, you don't need to physically attend for the classes. If you have free time, you can watch the videos and learn things by your own. So, by saying that, I would like to conclude today's session and hope to see you next week in the different platform, Zoom platform, and I will be sharing resource materials and my presentation slides and questions for you to get the maximum out of this subject. So, so I would like to congratulate and say good luck for you all, and hope to see you on next Saturday at 8 a.m. Thank you and goodbye.